This is Mission Control Houston. Welcome to today's ISS update. It is Monday, January 14th, 2013. The six-member crew of Expedition 34 is busy today on board the International Space Station with a variety of different maintenance tasks and also quite a bit of experiment work going on today. The entire crew started off their morning today with an emergency escape drill. They do this periodically throughout their time on board the orbiting complex. They train for basically three different major emergencies: fire, depressurization, and some sort of toxic release of chemicals or something. Today they were practicing exactly what they would need to do if they need to crawl into their Soyuz vehicles that brought the two different three-member teams up to the space station and evacuate the complex. They spent about 3 hours doing that this morning. They had a debrief with the various ground control teams around the world to talk about how that drill went, and everything went according to plan. Kevin Ford and Tom Marshburn have spent the rest of their morning replacing the knee braces inside the Columbus laboratory. These basically help the crew members hold themselves in place as they're working on different types of experiments there inside the European laboratory. Obviously, there's no gravity up in space, so if you push on something, it pushes back on you, and you basically back away from whatever experiment you're working on. So you need to hook yourselves into and secure yourself there in the laboratory. So they are going through the process of replacing those knee braces that help them while they're working in that lab. Oleg Novitsky is refreshing some of the software on the computers inside the Russian segment. This is also done periodically just to keep those computers up and running, so he'll spend his morning doing that. Evgeny Tarelkin is continuing to stow some of the cargo that came up on the Progress 48. That specific cargo vehicle brought up about 2.5 tons of supplies for the crew, so it takes a bit to unload that Progress 48, which is currently on the bottom side. That is the Piers docking compartment on the bottom side of the Russian segment. You also see the Progress 49 there back at the back of the Zvezda service module, but the crew unloads all of that, packs it full of trash, and coming up in the next few weeks, those vehicles will be undocked and burned up in the Earth's atmosphere, full of trash that the crew no longer needs. Roman Romanenko is working on an experiment today called the Signer Ocean Observations. This basically takes a look at the color contrast of the world's oceans as the space station flies above. They take photos of those, taking a look at the color of the water, and that is correlated to the fishing industry, taking a look at what kind of water and biological activity is going on down on the planet below. Tom Marshburn is spending his day working on the capillary flow experiment. This is something that's been ongoing on board the station. Basically, up in space, obviously there's no gravity, so it's a little bit difficult to control fluids and things like that. So scientists take a look at capillary flow, which is the interaction of liquid with a solid. You see it here on Earth as water or other liquid sort of crawls up glass and other types of materials. Scientists take a look at this phenomena up in space because it is actually not affected by gravity. So as they study that, they can hopefully one day come up with better designs for fuel systems on board spacecraft, also thermal control systems, and also wastewater management and other types of fluids. Chris Hadfield is working on what's known as In Space 3. This takes a look at different types of colloids, which is basically a solid that is inside a fluid. Those colloids tend to solidify whenever some sort of magnetic presence or a magnet is put up against it. This will help improve designs for bridges and buildings and things like that here on Earth, helping them withstand earthquakes and other trauma such as that. It also can be used in automobile designs. But those solids that are inside those liquids tend to create sediment or sort of settle out here on Earth, but that does not happen up in space since there is no gravity, so they study that to help improve the designs here on Earth. And finally, today work began on what is known as the RRM. This is the Robotics Refueling mission. This will be ongoing throughout the week. It is being controlled by the ground teams here in Houston and also the Canadian Space Agency. This activity is actually taking place out on what is called ELC-4, that is Express Logistics Carrier number 4. That is out on the right-hand side of the space station, basically directly below the Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer. This is a live view of Dexter, which is one of the robots on board the space station, and its arms operating on this activity board that is known as RRM. It is about the size of a washing machine. Well, what they're trying to do is demonstrate how you would refuel a satellite up in orbit. Whenever you launch a satellite, its lifespan is determined by not only how long the components last, but also how long the fuel on board lasts, since you can't really refuel the satellites in present day. But this activity board is going to put Dexter through a series of operations to snip some wires, unscrew some caps, and also transfer some simulated fuel later on this week. So Dexter will demonstrate not only how you would refuel a satellite that is designed for that to happen, but also how you would actually go up to one of these satellites that was never designed to do that, snip these wires, uncap this thing, and also try to refuel it. So Dexter will be going through the paces of that later on this week. The ground teams here in Houston are monitoring that, as well as the Canadian Space Agency, which obviously built the space station arm, and also Dexter itself. So that activity will continue throughout the week, and of course we'll have live coverage here on NASA television.